Well, let's take a look at what's going on in Ukraine this week. The 1st Russian Guards Tank Army is getting resupplied with more tanks. The 1st Guards Tank Army is Russia's elite tank force. One would expect they would get the latest and greatest the Russians have to offer. However, what they're actually getting is upgraded T-62 tanks, which are, 60 years old. Not only are these tanks obsolete and less effective than modern tanks because of their design, it will cause the formation to field fewer tanks if they're not given additional men. The reason for this is that the T-62 requires a 4-man crew because it lacks an autoloader. All modern Russian tanks require a 3-man crew. This will almost certainly reduce the unit's combat effectiveness because of the need to get crews trained up for having an additional man in an already cramped turret. That's the good news in the area of tanks in the Ukraine war. Now for some bad news. Back in January, NATO members promised 460 tanks after the Ramstein meeting. However, several countries have walked back their commitment, and now the total pledge stands at around 380. To make this situation even worse, the United States promised to send 31 M1A1 tanks in January. However, at the end of February, the Department of Defense announced that it would be at least 18 to 24 months before those tanks could be delivered, while they stated the delay was due to unspecified logistical problems. The likely true explanation for this is that these tanks are currently built to U.S. Army standards for armor, but export variants have a different, less survivable armor, which requires for the turret to be replaced. The Lima tank plant is already close to its current capacity upgrading tanks for the U.S. military, and these export version M1A1 tanks would have to be added in catch as catch can. Well, now for some more good news. The Russians sent an 18-man sabotage and reconnaissance group up the Dnipro River on 3 stolen civilian boats. They only made it as far as Potomkin Island before they were spotted, and all 18 were killed. The Ukrainian Special Forces unit Kraken destroyed a Russian watchtower in Bryansk Oblast, which Russian border guards used to monitor the Ukrainian border. In the battle for Bakhmut, Ukrainians have sent in reinforcements that are helping to stabilize the lines and are aiding in the evacuation of what civilians remain. There are 2 Ukrainian Air Force officers at Davis-Monthan Air Force Base outside of Tucson to help evaluate how long it would take to train up Ukrainian pilots to fly the F-16 and to aid them in ideas on how to best use not only the F-16 but the aircraft that they already have. As I noted last week, Yevgeny Prigozhin is finding out exactly how badly he has worn out his welcome after sending a letter to the Special Military Operation High Command demanding more ammunition for his Wagner mercenaries who are attacking around Bakhmut on March 5th. On the morning of March 6th, his representative at the Russian command headquarters in Ukraine had his pass canceled and was denied access. After years of luring the best the Russian military had to offer away with promises of higher pay and less oversight, it now appears that the Russian government has seen the error in its ways and is now not just trying to bring Wagner Group to heel, but to effectively kill it off entirely. The Russian government may be done with private military companies altogether as well as armed groups not directly under its control. After seeing how much money the Wagner Group had made for Prigozhin, Chechen strongman Ramzan Kadyrov said he was giving great consideration to starting his own military company. His bellicose posturing demanding the use of nuclear weapons in Ukraine had already made him less than popular with the powers that be in Moscow. It now seems that he fears he has been poisoned and is seriously ill with kidney problems, potentially kidney failure. Kadyrov has made it clear more than once that he absolutely does not trust Russian doctors. It now appears that he has been spending an extensive amount of time in Abu Dhabi with Dr. Yassin Ibrahim El-Shahat, a well-known nephrologist with over 30 years' experience, who also accompanies him on his trips back to Grozny in Kadyrov's private jet. It would seem he is suffering the same fate as others who have found themselves on the wrong side of Russian military intelligence, and they found themselves dying from everything from nerve agents to polonium poisoning. Russian Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu has said that Kyiv shows astonishing indifference toward the lives of its own people who are involved in the battle for Bakhmut. He claims that Ukraine has lost 11,000 troops in February alone. No Western analyst believes the figures he's quoting. Approximately 25,000 Russian troops have been killed in the battle for Bakhmut since it started last summer. One Ukrainian official has said that the battle for Bakhmut has been, quote, a unique opportunity to kill a lot of Russians, unquote. When Western military leaders and analysts have been asked if the fall of Bakhmut to the Russians would be a strategic loss, they pointed out that even if the Russians succeeded in taking the city, Bakhmut is on low ground surrounded by hills which the Ukrainians still control. Capturing the town but ceding the high ground is a recipe for disaster, giving Ukrainian artillery and snipers the ability to fire down into the town, which would only lead to even more catastrophic losses for the Russians. The Ukrainian government has launched an investigation to find out the name of two particular Wagner mercenaries who committed the war crime of executing an unarmed prisoner of war. If there were such a thing as a rule book for how to commit war crimes, these two psychopaths broke at least two of them. The only reason this cold-blooded murder is known about is because one mercenary made a video of it, which is bad enough in and of itself, but then he posted it onto the internet for all the world to see. The offense the Ukrainian soldier committed to cause these barbarians to kill him was to look him in the eye and say, "Glory to Ukraine," which has become the battle cry not only for the Ukrainian military, but for Ukrainian civilians as well since the start of the war. Well, that's all for this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and thank you for watching.